out of reach, but I
Right.
spend 8 minutes going after it, hoping for the best, or I ignore it and it comes back and gets me. This one was a situation where um, it's something that happens to me where I occasionally F it up and get it right.
Okay.
Um, so that was overperforming. And now this match, I just feel like I did not get as much out of this ship as I should be able to.
Okay.
Um, and I don't know if it's shot selection. I have a difficult time dealing with angled targets, trying to gauge the aim and all that stuff. And I mean, that's a trickier
Hmm.
shot to hit no matter what. But
Okay.
I feel that when I do get a good clap on somebody who's running, it's just because I literally flung enough shit at the walls. So
All right.
um, let me know when you're going to record and I'll stop swearing.
Believe it or not, I already started.
Great. I'm
uh,
classy, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube.
There you go. Welcome, YouTube. This is Lord Zath. I'm joined by Stony, who is one of my newer Patreons, and we're doing a couple of offline recordings. That's one of the benefits that you can get from joining my Patreon. But I started that recording early, Stony, not to embarrass you for swearing, but because you were saying some really important things in the end of our last battle. You had said, I thought that the game was over, so I said, to hell with this, let me just go kill the carrier because I hate that guy. And you said you decided not to chase the Shimakaze as part of that. Clan battle situation, when you've already declared a loss, that's when it's time to do the most stupid asinine thing you could possibly think of doing, because that's what brings you the win. So if that was a clan battle situation and you turned around and went right back into A, guess what? You'd catch that Shimakaze completely flat-footed, you pop your radar, you pow him into the face, you kill him. Now guess what? You've got A secured, you've got that Shimakaze done, your battleships on that flank are secured, and that might be enough to turn that L into a W. You just never know.
That's really good advice. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I think I play differently in clan battles. I If I YOLO, it's because I lost track of something and then, or I over accelerated to
Mm.
juke something and can't hit the brakes enough. There's another Stalingrad game earlier that I played where I accelerated and slammed on the brakes way too late because I pushed the throttle full forward instead of just a quarter,
Mm.
and rode out and ate 4 torpedoes, dev strike, done. Um,
Okay.
and I was in a decent position to do what I needed to in that situation. This
Okay.
one, I'm in a division with clanmates, and
Yep.
I was muted and said that I was going to go to Charlie because I like to deploy balanced. I don't know that that's necessarily the best thing, but if there's two battleships at one flank and two at the other, and I'm the third, I'll see who's a little bit lighter, and then I'll try to go equalize the weight, so to say,
Okay.
um,
It's
because I don't
tough.
want to just leave 3 ships up there to try to hold while we wrap, because randoms wrapping is typically very hard to get rolling, and you're going to see I
Hmm.
get bogged down in this one down
I,
at the South Cap.
I can already tell. So look at the mini map.
Hmm.
I generally speaking, especially when you're a three-person division, I hate when the three-person division wargaming. If you're listening, please fix this damn thing. I hate when you have a three-person division and you spawn in the middle of the map, because what happens? You three say, "I'm going to go this way," right? Generally speaking, everybody else goes and go, "Oh, they're going that way. Let's follow." And what ends up happening is you get this whole freaking lemming train, and you're at the middle of the damn lemming train, but which means you can't do anything about it either, because if you turn, by the time you turn, I mean, the match is already over. So I like the idea of saying, I'm going to go to C in order to better spread the wealth. You've got a Colombo division mate. He'll go down to A, whack some things, hopefully, that sort of thing. The one thing that I don't like seeing is what your Kerfurs is doing in B4. He's already abandoning Charlie.
That really bothered me,
Yeah?
and um, like I said, I wanted to go to Charlie, so I started turning that way, but the I was muted, so my division mates had already committed to Alpha. So I went, all right, let's work together because we had just in the match previous split up and weren't in position to support each other, and I think it contributed to a loss.
Okay.
So
Now,
I had made the decision before the match to stick with my teammates
okay.
regardless.
This is, I think, actually going to become a mistake because I think you'd be better off working with the Hindenburg and the Gearing. Even if the Kurfürst leaves, you three are a very potent threat. You open up cross shots, you discourage others from going into CCAP, especially the cruisers. So I think the two of you, I think if you went up there, let the Kurfürst do what he's going to do because you can't control what other players do. You can ask, but if this is a clan battle, obviously you can control what they do,
Right.
right? But it's not. This is a random, and I know you said you wanted to get some feedback to help you prepare for clan battles. So that means we're going to focus a little bit more, I think, on aim, targeting, your decisions leading up to trying to do damage and stuff like that.
And we've also got a Kremlin who is break checking our Colombo.
I see that. Well, I mean, he looks at which way the rest of the fish are going, and he turns accordingly.
Well, he turned and then stopped. That was the
Hmm.
weird thing. And I think you're going to see me pop my spotter plane. That's not a spotter plane, and it's actually
Yeah,
fighters.
you
In
should
a second,
definitely be running a spotter plane.
I think I had fighters for brawls or something specific like that.
Got it.
And then there, I thought the Petrol was going to still push at half speed, so I gave it, half of that dynamic
Mm-hmm.
crosshairs suggested lead, but he'd
Right.
already totally punched the brakes.
Oh yeah. I mean, so he came out and he radared. He caught the Yu Yang,
I
but
have a
then
question here.
okay.
My aim selection, I'm figuring this is far enough that I'm going to be lobbing shots.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that the Petrol Citadel is very difficult to hit.
Yep.
Um, and I know that he's angled. I can't he so I'm looking at your mod display. He's angled pretty well, so the only way I'm going to be able to get anything is through the deck
Correct.
if I have enough punch to get in.
Correct.
Am I aiming high enough? Because I'm going basically at the top of the weather deck at the stern
Mm-hmm.
because he's reversing. Hoping that the fact that the front of the ship is a little bit closer to me is going to mean that the shells are going to fall through the superstructure and hopefully get a full pen.
Mm-hmm.
Um, is that the height on the freeboard that I need to be going for? Should I be aiming a little bit higher, like more towards the center of that rear deck, or what?
Okay.
Because this is something that's really inconsistent for me, and I don't understand how to maximize.
If you look at where my cursor is, I would aim about here. Now, I am not a Battleship main. I've got a lot of experience in this. There's other people out there on YouTube that know battleships better than I do. But that being said, at longer range, you generally want to add a little bit of height because I find that the shells typically, because of their plunging, they aren't going to reach quite as far as you think they're going to reach. So we can watch your shells as they come in. That's something I always recommend you do. And if you look away, we'll pause it, we'll fly over, and we'll take a look at it out of there. So if you aim a little bit higher, then that means you're probably going to hit at the superstructure with the way he's reversing. And I think you have a better chance of getting through the deck via the superstructure than you do, basically right where you're at because you're gonna basically hit kind of this area here, right? You're gonna hit the upper belt, possibly the rear turret, and possibly the superstructure. I think if you aim a little bit higher, better chance that even if it goes past, you'll still overpen the super, and that'll still give you more, guaranteed damage, if you will.
Okay.
I alternately, you could try to go for bow pen. Now that's a little bit more difficult. That would mean you would be aiming literally right on the center of the ship,
Mhm.
and your shells would hit this part by the time they back up. The Petro's upper part, I think, is 25, might be 27. So you should be able to overmatch that, which means it doesn't matter what kind of angle he's pointed at. So if you're able to hit that part, but at 20 kilometer, I mean, with moving targets, that's kind of, hey. So either one of those two would work.
Okay. And that's definitely something that I want help with. I mean, any player who has managed to earn a tier 10 tech tree ship
Mm-hmm.
should be able to hit the broadside of a light cruiser with 208s or better and get a citadel at 12 to 15 kilometers, like in the last replay.
Mm-hmm.
This is the stuff where I definitely need help in shot selection and aim point selection because I understand that I'm not going to do full pens because he is pretty severely angled. He's at 27 degrees, so
Yep.
that's auto bounce
Yep.
if I hit the freeboard.
Yep.
Um, so I understand that. So I know that I need to get plunging fire, and I feel that especially with the slower American shells, they're definitely going to be coming almost vertical at
Yep.
that distance.
Yep.
I don't know where in the distance chart that I'm going to start having that plunging fire more develop. Is it 15? Is it at 13?
I
Where is it
think
more of a laser?
And that, I believe, depends on the line itself and the shell velocity. And this is where, I could be wrong too, but generally speaking, I would say over 15, you have a good chance of, you're pretty sure it's going to be plunging fire.
Mhm.
Below 15, it really depends if it's a slow velocity. I might go down to 13. If it's a faster velocity, I might go up a little bit, but this is where you can spend some time in the training room. There's an armor resiliency test mode that you can do on some maps, especially ocean. It lines up a whole
Mhm.
bunch of ships, and you can just select them to be different kinds of tier 10 cruisers, and you can just go around for 60 minutes up to, because you can change the time in the training room, and just pow away at these things from whatever angle. And that's where the navigator comes in handy, because you can reproduce this exact kind of a shot. Granted, it's a stationary target, but it still gives you some good feedback for generally how you should want to aim. So, if you're looking for a way to practice for clan battles as a battleship player, that wouldn't be a bad idea.
Okay. Now I have gone in there with my Yamato because I wanted to experiment with bow on overmatch.
Mm-hmm.
I lined up 6 or 8 Des Moines and I got perfectly straight on at about 15 kilometers and then moved in and I did not get one single overmatch citadel through the bow.
Okay.
Part of it was RNG, but I think part of it is I didn't necessarily know which part of the ship I needed to be aiming at. Am I aiming at the top of the nose? Am I aiming at the water line of the nose? Am I aiming
Right.
at the front turret? Um, again, it's these longer distance shots where I definitely need more specific guidance to make
Mm-hmm.
better decisions.
Yep. And in that situation, you'd be aiming more at the turret, because at the icebreaker bow, that's 50 millimeter. It'll bounce a yam shell.
Right.
Um, by the way, while we're flying over here, you know the reason why the Petro backed up, right?
I don't remember.
So the Petro came out and hit S 5 times as soon as I would expect your division mate in the Colombo, the Kremlin, and the Montana, and you all looked at him. If he's got priority target, he's going to see he's lit up with the number 5. He's not going to feel comfortable with that. If he doesn't have that, he might also have incoming fire alert that tells him stuff's coming his way. Either way, that's kind of one of your tells that gives you an idea. This guy's got some pretty decent situational awareness, so getting a good cross shot on him isn't going to work as well, especially early game right now. So just something to think about, to get an idea of what's going on in other players' minds.
Patience is definitely something that I have a lot of struggle with as well. Um, I start to get anxious with if I'm not at least taking the shot,
Mm-hmm.
why am I here?
Yep.
It's that kind of a thing. Um, so I'll say, okay, this is the long range shot. It's on an important target in that it's a Petro bunkering
Mm-hmm.
up on an island near a cap that he can radar and significantly influence.
Right.
Any damage is good damage. Um, Holding my shot is guaranteed zero damage.
That's
Um,
right. But
so there's that.
But early on a map like this, holding your shot could have meant you could have shot the Hindenburg, which I would argue would have been a better target to go for. He wasn't butted up to an island. Overall, he's a lot easier to do damage on than a Petro, anyways, especially at range.
Okay.
Um, Now, I did watch the shells, and I stayed here because I wanted to see where the Petro moved. And let's see if we can see the actual shot. This is something you can do too. You can break the camera free, Control Shift Backspace, and then you can hit Control J to drop the HUD. And what you're doing is you're trying to look for where that shell overpenetrated on the ship. It would have been nice so that we could have seen that shell. Otherwise, no, that's actually part of the texture. Yeah. Um, but we did see an overpen. I'm thinking that it went through the superstructure someplace because everything else
It
looks
seemed a
pretty
little bit
open.
high. It seemed right at the weather deck. It definitely
Yeah.
seemed weather deck or a little bit higher, not necessarily through the freeboard,
Right.
like upper belt or anything like that.
Yep. So that's something that you can, try doing if you want to get a better idea. But you can see how little of an area you really have on a Petropavlovsk to, penetrate anyways in the superstructure. So generally speaking, if I see a Petro that's, kind of bow in or lined up, I'm not going to bother shooting him unless he's really the only target for me to hit. Let's get back to your view. Looks like you shot the Colombo. Take a look at...
Perhaps.
Yep. Not bad. Take a look at the minimap, though. There are now 4 battleships, plus your div mate and the Minotaur, that are approaching the same grid square. This is kind of a problem.
Yes. But again, we got bogged down here, and I feel like the enemy team did a good job of staying angled, and I was doing my best to try to utilize, 457s. Let's see if I can't find any 27 mil to overmatch, and if that's not the case, see if I can't lob something through superstructure.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like there were no good shots here, and I stopped here to avoid clustering, but then I see that uh, the Hindenburg was out there, and the Stalingrad was what felt like the biggest problem. And
Okay.
that's me popping the fighters, thinking it was my
Yep.
spotter plane
Yep.
C over.
Okay.
Um,
So you had another opportunity. You didn't take it, and you might not even recognize it. You had a really good opportunity to turn around before you popped your plane and before you started taking, hope shots, basically, right? Because you were shooting something that wasn't even detected at the time. And I think that would have been a really good chance for you to turn back towards BCAP, flip your guns to the right, and catch another ship off guard. Because, I mean, the Stalingrad's going to bow into this whole area. Riphub's going to, eventually bow or stern into him. Colombo's already leaving the area. So that leaves you really with just the Hindenburg to smack around. But Hindenburg's also kiting away.
right. And I saw that he was backing up, so I took that shot towards his bow, assuming that the next play, once he sees incoming fire, is hit the gas.
Mm-hmm.
So again, the aim is going to be less than ideal. It's
Mm-hmm.
something I need to work on. But the guesswork and trying to notice tendencies is something I mean, that's probably just repetition
Yep.
until it becomes instinct.
Yep. Are you okay? You're gonna stay on the hidden. Good. I was gonna say there's no point in switching over to the repub. Now, are you secondary spec?
Yes.
Okay.
What is it, 11-3, I think? And I'm one of those noobs that puts all of the flags on. Oh, that Stalingrad game that we just watched,
Hmm.
I didn't put any of the special signals on. And I
Of
have been
course.
putting special signals on literally every match this entire weekend until that one. I was like, nah. And then I go in and get 3,100 base.
Yep. A little bit too low there, I would say. You're expecting to back up. Let's see where the shells hit. Actually, that wasn't too bad. You had looked like one that bounced off the turret armor, and the other 3 hit right on the deck. So,
Again, that's more down to dumb luck than a deliberate intention on my part.
that's okay.
And I'm also trying to punish the guns in lieu of getting good shots on the side belts to try to knock them out if I can.
Okay.
See if I can't permanently knock them out.
Now's where I'd be swinging my guns and looking at that Petro. That Petro is just asking for you right now. Yeah, he's behind
My
the
teammates
island.
called him out, and I didn't spot that it was something that was immediately available, and I went right back to fixating on these kiting ships, thinking that I might be able to
Mm-hmm.
do better work here.
Mm-hmm.
Again, instead of holding my shot for 5 more seconds before I get to this gap
Yep.
where I'm broadsiding half the team, and maybe be able to do something significant over there. Um,
Right.
Target fixation and decisions.
You also aren't really following your shots that much. Um, and I would say in a battleship, it's really helpful to do just that so that you know where they're hitting. Now, here we go. You're shooting at the Colombo when you've got a Petro that's broadside to you, even closer.
Didn't see the Petro.
No, right, exactly. Now you see the Petro and you're like, damn it, because you could have shot at him instead.
Yep.
So that's where we were talking in your last replay about you making those kind of more snapshot-ish ideas. Like, I think if you had taken a second to just kind of clear the shot, make sure that the shot's set, like here, for example, you're shooting at the Colombo. That's fine. You were looking at him just a little bit longer than your other shots, and that helped you to at least get an idea. Is the Colombo going to turn? If so, which way? All that good stuff. Your group up at sea has completely died. Go back to where I talked about if you had gone up to sea, you probably would have died too-ish, maybe, but I think the important thing is the Marceau that ended up killing your gearing up there wouldn't have felt comfortable pushing as far and deep against a secondary spec Ohio. No way. So if you just kind of had parked yourself out there as, basically a real pain in the butt kind of a battleship, I think this battle would have played out very differently, and you wouldn't have ended up in this kind of a wrap where now you've got some people that are finally deciding to turn out of A. But it's almost, you can already tell it's too little too late.
It's very much so, and I can't get significant damage on any of these ships, whether it's shot selection or game mechanics or both.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have enough punch behind me,
Mm-hmm.
but I also feel compelled to keep pressure on them to run. So I think I stop here just for a bit to try to let this heal tick.
And you
And
should DC. Well, okay, yeah, you're technically healing a little bit of that too, but okay. Um, this would be a good opportunity to try to stop shooting as well and see if you're still detected outside your gun bloom area or outside your standard concealment area. The reason for that is you want to get an idea of how close the gearing is to you right now. And if
been a
the...
pain in the neck.
I'm sorry?
He's been a pain in the neck. I haven't been able
Well,
to
sure.
get spotted, to stay spotted long enough to even get my secondaries to fire. I think I've been able to lock him up with secondaries, but I haven't been able to keep him detected long enough for them to load and fire.
Well, and the thing is, Yoshimikaze isn't really going in and spotting. He was very afraid of the Stalingrad early on. Now the Stalingrad's gone. It's taken way too long for him to get out there and do some spotting. And then you can see he's going for damage too. He's not going for spots. But we'll see if he's able to find something. Okay, you're dark right now. This is huge. Don't shoot. At all. Don't shoot. You need to wait for that last heal to come up. If you shoot now, you're going to be shot at probably from the Hindenburg, probably from the Colombo, maybe also the Repub, because they see you as a very low health target and they know that you are XP for them.
Right.
So I wouldn't even move forward. I would
I
just
don't
sit.
know if I stayed dark completely, but I was aware that I was dark, and this was a very good thing for right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I started pushing again because I didn't want to be stuck too far behind where I was going to be able to be effective.
Okay, now you're shooting at the Hindenburg, who's already actively dodging, and that's the hard part with the Hindenburg. I might have held and focused on the Colombo instead, or even the Vermont. It's just really hard if they're doing the serpentine action. You've got no idea exactly how they're going to turn. I generally like to follow cruisers and watch them a little bit longer to see what they're going to do. There's another shot that you took way too early. Wait to see if he's going to settle on a straight course first before you shoot.
Okay.
You managed to punch one through his face and then one looked like through superstructure or something. You got your heal back up because you're in an Ohio and you've got quick reload heal, which is kind of nice. And your Shimakaze is, well, sailing into his death. Good job.
That Shimikaze was frustrating, but I don't think I can blame our performance on this flank entirely on him.
No,
Uh,
no. Now I'm gonna do something that I haven't done in some time, so it's gonna take me a sec to put this together. I'm gonna pause the YouTube video recording here.
at all in
Yep.
that battle. And I was trying to make the best of a bad situation. Do you want me to wait until you're recording again?
I've already started recording because you started
Okay.
talking. I wanted to catch
So
it.
I feel like I didn't put myself into a good position and I was on the back foot for this entire match,
Mm,
trying to make the best of less than ideal initial decisions
yeah.
and then compounding poor choices.
Right.
Um, like I didn't notice the Petro broadside
Right.
ever until I took
Right.
that shot, and then I didn't finish him off because I felt that there were shells on the way, and I needed to get damage somewhere where it mattered.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in addition to that, everything that happened on the north flank and even in the central cap, I was completely unaware of during the entirety of this match, um, because I was so focused on trying to squeeze out something useful from where I was in the ship I'd brought to this battle.
Right. Now, the enemy team did the perfect textbook execution, right? They kited away. The Stalingrad died long enough for his team to turn around and held you guys long enough. Now, I want you to think, if you were able to do the same thing up at the sea cap early on, how would that have changed this battle? You know what I mean?
I
Like,
I honestly think it would have been tremendous.
yeah.
I'm not even sure where that Kurfürst ended up deploying and what happened to him after he turned away from the cap he
Well,
spawned in.
watch the curve first. I'm gonna move Stevie behind this because I think it's there. Sorry, Stevie. Um, so watch the curve first. You can see he's in Charlie 3 now. He's got a plane up. I don't know if that's I think that's a spotter. Um, but he's not sure what to do. He doesn't feel like he's comfortable with the fact that the gearing has already died over here. The Hindenburg is already kiting away because he's lost that flank, and everybody is accumulating in Foxtrot 1 and Golf 1. Nevsky realizes the threat, tries to go up and stop the Marceau from pushing. He's going to get blapped in a little bit. For his insolence, Hindenburg is doing the right thing, kiting away to the corner of the map instead of trying to rejoin the group. Look at your Kurfürst. Your Kurfürst has met up with your Colombo divmate.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, and he's following. You get a lot
8
of
minutes
players
to
that.
sail all the way across the map and not do anything.
That's correct. You get a lot of players and randoms that will do that. So, in general, I don't like to make my decisions based off of what those players are doing. Instead, I like to make my decisions while taking into account of what those players are doing, but not expecting them to do much help. As you can see, he's now turned back to the border. He got smacked, took some damage, and now I'm in the way. And now he's starting to move back up. And now he turned back around because he did not feel comfortable following you. And that's the end of the battle. So let's go back
Wow.
to the opportunity you had. I think if you would have instead followed your initial instinct and gone to sea and hooked yourself up to the B6 island area, guns pointed south, you would have smacked that Marceau right there. He was detected, um, right there, right there. See that Marceau?
Mhm.
You had a really good possible opportunity right there to nail him. What's happening to my video? Oops, I'm on the wrong one. There it is. Okay, I'm gonna rewind back a little bit.
And see, that's one of those situations where I probably would have switched to HE. I don't know, I've been told that the because of the French damage saturation mechanic that it's better to shoot Battleship AP at them anyways than to
Y-
switch to HE?
Generally, I wouldn't. I would look at it as, oh, why is it not pausing? There we go. I would look at it as HE is to break things on destroyers and AP is to hurt them. So imagine if you were following that Hindenburg right here. Look at this. Your
Right.
secondaries would have been right on that Marceau. Your primaries on the Marceau. Obviously, Hindenburg is shooting him too. I think you guys could have had a good opportunity, good chance of killing him. We don't know, but if he goes down, the Minotaur Vermont that are following aren't going to follow. Um, or at very least will slow down, maybe go up the 10 line. That gives your team precious time to get around. I don't feel like you killed the Stalingrad, right? Like, your team killed the Stalingrad. You helped a little bit. You got some chip damage in on the
Yeah, 6 or
Stalingrad.
7K,
Right,
maybe a total of 10 over 3 or 4 salvos.
right. But I don't feel like that was enough. Like, it wasn't a decisive advantage having you out on the flank like that, right?
Right.
So, yeah, definitely split and fire. If you send me a clan battle replay, or if I'm hanging out with your group while we're watching clan battles, you better believe I'm going to call you guys out if you put both of your battleships in the same grid square or on the same flank. That no,
Luckily,
And-
that is not the way we typically deploy.
right?
Our deployments tend to be. I don't know what I'm talking about, so I don't want anybody to hear this and get offended. They seem to be relatively vanilla. Like a 5-2 split, sometimes a 4-3 split. Um, Battleship setting up for crossfires, and there's some maps where we'll keep DDs together, or we'll send them to the same flank where one's going mid to spot and the other one's going wide to be wide spotting and flanking and area denial torps and so on. Um, but we don't tend to do anything crazy. 2 battleships, 2 destroyers, 3 cruisers is basically where most of our players feel comfortable. It's where I feel comfortable, and I think that's the kind of resources we have available as far as um, player strengths as well. We don't have like a glut of great DD players.
Yep. I paused it here because here was that other part. Remember, I said you had that other opportunity to say to hell with this and turn around. And
Yeah.
now watch BCAP, and I want you to think about if you had gotten back to Foxtrot or Echo 2 or 3, that area, okay? What kind of shots would you have in the enemy had you moved back there? And just take a look at BCAP and imagine yourself here. For one, that Petro can't move past the island, right? You would
Not
have
just that,
locked him
but
in
I
place.
also had a shot there that I didn't take.
Correct.
And again, my teammates did call it out, but I didn't have my guns rotated, and
Correct.
I had decided that it was time to wrap around this island because we'd been bogged down. And
Right. Now, also, look at the Colombo. If you're an Echo Foxtrot 2-3, that Colombo can't push either. He can't push in. Watch what happens to the Colombo. Right there, he's broadside to where you could have been.
mhm.
And disappears for a long time, probably made inky. But when he comes back, there he is. Once again, broadside. He for some odd reason, completely turned around in B cap. Another shot you might have taken. Marceau up there. Another potential target. The point I'm getting at is by moving your ship up here, I know what you're doing down on the bottom. You're trying to push because you're trying to make something happen, and you're just like, to hell with this, let's go. The problem is that you, at that point, the game was already lost. I think if you look for those kinds of decisions, that kind of feeling like, to hell with this, let's make a change, let's make something happen, look for those moments in the battle. Don't look for them at the end of the battle. I mean, you can, but look for them at the halfway point. Assess where, I mean, look at the map, look at the timer, 10 minutes in, right?
And you pointed out, I think it's at about 14 and a half minutes remaining.
Yes,
Is you were like, that's when you should have turned back north.
right,
That's where you had that opportunity to turn back towards
right.
Bravo and make a difference there.
So maybe that should be 5 minutes. After 5 minutes of the battle, just take a moment, look at the minimap, what's the situation, and what's happening that I like, what's happening that I don't like, and what can I do to try to change it. Um, I think you had two really good opportunities to break away from what everybody else was doing. It would have meant your death, but it might have meant more impact on the battle than what you ended up with.
Right. Yeah, because I don't feel like I contributed much at this.
Hmm.
I think I tried to take shots. Um, I got lucky on a couple where I got, one or two full pens on retreating targets, but for the most part, everything was angled just enough
Yep.
to render my decisions and my skill set um, virtually useless for the team.
Because all of you guys are coming from the same damn angle, and that's the problem. And I always talk about cross shots being important. I'm gonna try something here. See if I can get on frame doing this. But I'm gonna show you. Keep going out of frame, and I'm gonna try to see if I can show you the angle once all of you guys are there. Okay, so as you guys are coming out, can I do this right? That's about the angle that the Stalingrad has to deal with, right?
Hmm.
Right about there. That's a very tight angle. And then as you guys get into Golf 1, look at how that angle is even shrinking.
Yeah.
So you mentioned you couldn't get a good shot. Well, of course you can't get a good shot because everybody's angling to your one blob, your general direction. They don't have to worry about your shots. They
And
just have to
again,
worry about everybody's shots.
if you go back and look at 15 minutes, I was still in Echo 2 up
Mm-hmm.
close to the Delta border.
Mm-hmm.
And again, just Q twice, S twice, slow down, turn in.
Flip your
I could have
guns.
made, you know, an enticing target, but a target that would have been very difficult to do significant damage to
Now
from there.
you were shoot. I can't. Eh. You were shooting at the Hindenburg, and I want you to think about the angle to that Hindenburg, right
Yeah, I
there,
think in the replay it was like
down to the
13,
right.
20
So the
from that
Hindenburg.
meter.
I mean, the thing is, the Hindenburg doesn't even have to worry about the Kremlin shot because the Kremlin's behind the island. So
Mhm.
all it is really is you there, and that's about it. Maybe the Kurfürst and Colombo won't, but not until they clear the island. And the same thing with that Kremlin. So,
The Montana as well.
oh, that's true. The Montana's right. Well, he's right next to you. So again, he
Yeah.
just angles to in one general direction. He doesn't care. This is the part where if you were up here, I mean, you could slap the Hindenburg. He's looking at the Montana. Bam. Right.
I have a real hard time penetrating French battleships too, and I've been told that their armor is really trolly. But
Oh, it is.
yeah, I even on shots where I'm like, that should be a slap. It's like ricochet, ricochet, ricochet. I fired one where I got 7 shells on target, and it was 5 ricochets and like 2 torpedo protection hits or something like that, and maybe one overpen for 900 damage. I was
Hmm.
like, but 457s. What the?
Right.
Oh.
I mean, that's how it works in this game sometimes. But that might be a good topic for a different video. But at this point, we're coming up on 40 minutes. So what do you say we say goodbye?
That sounds great. I appreciate your
Okay.
help so much. There's some really good information here that I'm going to try to take with me into both clan battles and random to
Perfect.
assess my decision making process. So thank you very much, Zath.
Of course. And hey, YouTube, we're now at almost 39 minutes. Uh, Damn, if you guys have followed this up to this point, that's awesome. Please put something in chat just so I know that you guys have gotten here. It makes me feel better to know that like the things that I'm doing, you guys are following, that you're enjoying it, that it's helpful for you. And if there's other things that you've picked up on from this, if there's new things that you've learned, please share it as well. This is a game that's constantly evolving, constantly changing, and there's so much that you have to learn in order to be able to do well in this game. So it helps me to know what things you guys are picking up on and saying, wow, this is really helpful, so that I can make sure to focus on those in future videos. So we'll go ahead and stop the video recording now, but thank you all for watching, and hopefully I'll see you on the next stream.